Welcome back to The Brain. I'm Kensley, and I'm your NFL host for today. And we're going to be talking about brains. We're going to be talking about the periodic table of elements. And this is Allie, our sub-host. Now, will you talk to us about the groups?
Hello, and welcome to the wicked tour of the periodic table. First, let's start with hydrogen, the lonesome group. This element is the only one in its group, the only one. It's a non-metal and non-reactive. Now back to Kensley with the alkaline metals.
Alkaline metals are the most reactive by far, especially with halogens. Now to Allie.
Next is the alkaline earth metals. These are reactive, but not as reactive as the alkaline metals.
Correct. Now to transition metals.
The largest of them all.
They're not only the largest group, but they are also the best conductors of heat and electricity.
Don't forget the rare earth metals.
Aren't they a different group?
Yes and no. They're part of the transition metals, but they must have some different properties.
That makes sense, but why are they away from the transition group?
If they were added to the transition group on the periodic table, it would be way too long.
That makes sense.
Like brains. What's next, Kensley?
If I'm correct, that would be the boron group. Most of these are metals, and except for boron. Pretty ironic, huh?
Yep, that is pretty ironic. Isn't silicon the most common in that group?
Actually, silicon is the most common in the group carbon. Aluminum is the most common in boron.
Oh, that makes sense. Hey, did you know that 80% of our air is made up of nitrogen?
That's really, really cool. That brings us to our next group, nitrogen. All these elements except for nitrogen can be solid at room temperature. Once again, pretty ironic.
Speaking of our air, only 20% of our air is made up of oxygen, like our oxygen group.
Anything ironic?
Actually, no. But some of the properties of the elements is that they share electrons when forming compounds.
Oh, next is the halogen group, the one I was talking about earlier.
Oh yeah, why don't you share some information about them and Mendelov?
Will do. This family is the most active non-metal. That's why they can form salt with alkaline metals when combined. What's next?
The noble gases, the last group of them all. But next we have Mendeleev. This group is extremely unreactive and they're colorless. Only a small amount can be found in Earth's atmosphere. Also, Mendeleev created the periodic table and he only started off with 60 elements. Until next time, I'm Allie Herbert.
And I'm Kensley Bennett.
And you've been watching The Brain.
Have a lively day.
What's next, Kensley?
If I'm correct, that would be the boron group. Most of these metals are...
Yep, that is pretty ironic.
Welcome back to The Brain. I'm Kensley. Oh my god. Except for nitrogen can be solid at room temperature. Once again, pretty ironic.
Speaking of our air, only 20% of our air is made up of oxygen, like the oxygen group.
Anything ironic this time?
Actually, no. But some of the properties of the elements is that they share electrons while forming compounds.